Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Wonder Woman Says. Back here with my lovely fiance.
Woo!
We had a lot of fun over the weekend. I know my fiance had a big weekend.
Orchiectomy, baby!
And congratulations.
Yeah, the best part is now whenever I want to insult something, I can just say, I had my nuts cut off and that wasn't as bad as this.
And I know you've been anticipating that.
Yep.
Well, I know on this show we've been reviewing a lot of DC and Marvel titles, but I thought it'd be time to take a trip down to the Indies again. So
And what's more independent than Disney?
I don't quite know how to answer that one.
Well, they're a scrappy up and comer. I'm sure they'll reach the heights eventually.
Although, interestingly, this first comic I'm about to review, this movie was made by Disney back in the 90s.
You don't say.
Yeah. Of course, I'm talking about none other than the Rocketeer.
Yeah, it's almost like I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, this was released last week. Honestly, I was caught by surprise because I didn't even think they were still making Rocketeer comics, to be honest. But I guess their movie's been getting such a cult following over the past decade or so that they decided to give it another chance in comic form, which I'm glad
Yeah,
they
because it
did.
was awesome.
Yeah. Well, of course, we start out this comic. It seems like the Rocketeers learn that some Nazis are secretly working in America, so he suits up to go investigate.
Nazis in America? Surely you jest.
Yeah. Let me just say, I love this shot right here.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's just pure perfection.
That is some composition right there.
Yeah.
Who's the artist in this?
Um, Stephen Mooney, Lynn O'Grady, Sean Lee, Nicholas Nino, Scott Dumbier.
All right, well, you people, we give you 4 horns up.
Yeah, they really did their thing in this book. Well, the Rocketeer arrives on the scene. He's getting ready to get into some action. Of course, he immediately finds what he's looking for. He gets attacked by the Nazis, but he uses his suit to kind of get away. But then sadly for him, he gets shot out of the sky, basically. Or I guess you could say his luck finally runs out here. Of course, this is when he starts having thoughts about finally quitting being a superhero for good so he could go straight for his girlfriend for once.
My God, that art is beautiful.
Yeah, yes it is. Sometime afterward, we see him laying on the bed. Of course, he's lucky to be alive. Of course, his beautiful girlfriend comes and they start talking about how life is going. He starts bringing up about how he's going to stop being the Rocketeer. Of course, she doesn't believe him because he's made the promise before.
Is she Betty Page?
Um,
Tell me that doesn't look just like her.
yeah, it kind of does.
Damn.
Yeah. Of course. But just that, like they said in The Godfather 3, it's because I said something to the effect like, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Well, he gets an offer he can't refuse in this right here. He learns of a great race where the winner stands to win thousands of dollars. It starts in New York, goes all the way to Paris, supposed to feature some of the best aviators in the world.
Now that sounds like a trap.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. Of course, he starts thinking about it real hard. Deep down inside, he doesn't want to do it. Then he starts talking about how he designed this special plane for the race. And basically, Cliff finds himself kind of having no other choice because he's thinking about how he need the money. So, of course, he starts really thinking about taking him up on his offer. Well, I'm not going to go any further because I don't want to spoil the rest of the book.
Are there planes at some point?
Well, I just say you have to read the book to find out how it goes in the end. I will say, I like how they left it hanging for the next chapter of this miniseries.
I mean, that looks pretty thick for such a short story. Is there a bunch of crap in the back?
Unfortunately, yeah, there is.
Well, I mean, at least it's, Rocketeer related, not just like ads for other books.
Yeah, Dynamite notorious for that one. Yeah, stories. I mean, it's decent length, but there's a whole lot of stuff in the back too after the story.
It's like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something.
Yeah,
Alrighty, so out of 10.
I will say, I never thought I'd say this. I think this comic book has some of the very best artwork in any comic book I've read that was released this year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think an IDW book of all places would feature such stunning art. This beats even a lot of DCs and Marvels that I've read that come out these first few months. I didn't think a Rocketeer would get done this much justice.
Alright, so out of 10, though.
If they perhaps might have had a few more pages to it, I probably would have gave it a 9.5, maybe even a 10, but I don't know, it just felt like it was over too quickly, but for what was there, I give it a 9. Like I said, that artwork is stunning just looking at the cover alone.
And the back cover, too.
Yeah.
I gotta say, though, it looked like there were a lot of splash panels.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an Image comic from back in the 90s or something.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, too. Because that's precisely what we're reviewing next, as a matter of fact, for the Blast from the Past.
Is it Youngbloods?
Nah.
Wildcats?
Nope.
Savage Dragon?
Nope. No, it's Spawn #1. Now, before I even get into this one, I'm just going to really say something about this. This comic book was really important for many, many reasons. This was the first time a black superhero really started gaining ground in the comic book world. And of course, this comic book kind of gave some hope for the indie scene too, because I would say before this, I don't think any independent comics was really famous too much. This kind of changed the game. This definitely put Image out there. And for a while, it's kind of made Image on DC and Marvel's level. Yeah, because this book right here, I would say Spawn was probably one of the most popular superheroes of the whole 1990s.
Yep, and then the Image turned into an action figure company.
Yeah. At least they did the right thing and kept Spawn going. It would have been a tragedy if he got canceled for any reason.
I think Savage Dragon is still going too, but I don't think the two creators talk to each other.
Well, that's sad. I know people kind of come and go quickly at Image.
All right, so crack it open.
Of course, we see these panels right here. Spawn's kind of thinking to himself. See a shot of the city that he's in. Of course, as he continues to think to himself here, we start hearing news reports of his recent death at the hands of the government. I will say, I wish I get these kind of reports when I die one day.
Well, I will, but I'm going to die from punching a bear in the face.
Of course, we start seeing past glimpses of his life back when he was still Al Simmons. Then we start seeing past visions of his wife that he left behind after his death. Then you start seeing Spawn try to remember more things.
I just gotta say, I love the way it kind of cascades down into his face there.
Yeah.
It's very artistically satisfying, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, wee.
That's early 90s Image for you. Of course, you start seeing more thoughts about Spawn, how he feels lost and how he feels Like he just needs to really figure out what's going on.
Like how he feels like he can hop in the back seat of a cab and rob until the meter reads 9999.
Yeah, I give that one to you. Yeah, that was a kind of cool thing. I must say, I love this right here. This is poster worthy right here.
Yep.
And of course, because it's funny too, most of this issue was just Spawn trying to recollect his thoughts, try to figure out who he was and where he is now, and all that kind of stuff. It's really a true definition of an origin story. Here we see Twitch and what's the other dude's name again?
I don't know. Fat Tony, maybe?
I think it's Sam and Twitch, I think.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, because these are the detectives that are also known in Spawn lore, so to speak.
Yeah, they're the ones no one gave a shit about.
Yeah, but yet they're gonna call themselves trying to make the next movie mostly about, which I think is a mistake if they go that route.
Oh yeah, more cops, that's what we need.
Yeah. They start talking about how somebody's been killing off all the crime bosses lately. They're trying to figure out who did it. Of course, anybody with half a brain reading this book knows just who did it. And of course, we see this woman's about to get possibly raped by these gangsters. Of course, until Spawn comes on the scene. Of course, Spawn ends up making quick work of these criminals right here. And then shortly, before I get back to the story, this is real cool right here. Yeah, I like how they put this in here. Pretty much, as he continues to fight the criminals, he starts having more thoughts about his past life. That's when we start seeing how traumatized Spawn really is.
Are those bubbles?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, he's scared of bubbles, that's okay.
It's like Spawn starts having all these thoughts about where he was in his past life. It's really getting to him.
And he's afraid of bubbles, apparently. I'm afraid of balloons.
He starts having, of course, more visions of his wife.
I love her hair.
Yeah.
It's very Lisa Bonet as Lydia from Beetlejuice.
Yeah. This is, of course, made just right around that time period, too. And, of course, Spawn's comforted by the girl he helped save. You start getting more news reports. They start talking about all the mob bosses that are mysteriously getting murdered. Once a lot of the reports, they're in support of whoever's doing it. One reporter seems to have an idea who Spawn is. He starts talking about the chains and the spikes on him. How he thinks that sounds cool. But of course he thinks the cape is pretty useless. We start referencing the young bloods.
Yeah, that was back when Image was trying to do the whole shared universe thing before they realized that all the different creators own their own characters. They could fuck off whenever they want to.
Yeah. Of course, we see some more thoughts as Spawn walks around trying to make sense of where he is. Then Spawn has an idea to try to take off his costume. He removes his mask. That's when he starts feeling his charred face. He starts wondering what is he? Of course, those answers assume to come in future issues.
And we have an ad for Russ, which is apparently a comic starring Blaze, you dead homie.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And then Spawn's pretty terrified about who he is. He starts trying to figure out how he got the way he is now. But then, of course, none other than the Violator shows up. That's how I end this landmark first issue.
Overall, I'd say it was pretty good.
Yeah. That book right there, I would say, is very essential to modern comics in general.
Doesn't get anywhere near enough credit.
Yeah. Because like I said, if it wasn't for this book, I don't think Image would be around today. I don't think they would have lasted without Spawn. I think he was their only consistent seller for years too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Savage Dragon is doing pretty well. I think they're on like issue 250 or something.
But yeah, of course it wasn't the greatest movie in the world, but of course that '97 movie came from this book, and we're still talking about Spawn today thanks to this comic book right here.
My only real problem with that whole franchise is that they had to keep rewriting his origin because people kept taking their characters back.
Yeah.
Like originally he was killed by a guy named Chapel, but then it was a girl named Priest, and then I think Angela was part of it at some point.
Yeah, it does get pretty muddy after the first few years. That's kind of the downside of being on a comic company like Image. They don't really have nothing like firmly planted in stone.
Although I gotta say, if I used to have a copy of it, I don't have it anymore. But if we ever find a copy of, I think it's Spawn number 9, which was written entirely by Dave Sim, we have to review it because it's like Cerebus the Aardvark taking Spawn through hell and showing him that Superman is trapped and they can never escape. But then Spawn and Cerebus are able to go home because they're still creator owned.
I do like the sounds of that one. I definitely try to seek it out.
Yeah, it's self-indulgent in the best possible way.
Yeah. Also, this might be, granted, this might be something for a future day. I do have that Spawn Batman crossover. That's something that could be reviewed at some point too.
If you really want to get something historical, get the Spawn. I mean, get the Batman Hitman crossover. Wait, no, not Hitman. Because there was a Batman Hitman because they're both DC. I'm thinking of The Darkness.
Yeah.
Because it was non-canon for Batman, but it was canon for The Darkness. So they had to keep writing around calling him Batman in future issues.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for it. But yeah, I definitely got to get his book 5 stars. On the surface, like when you really think about it, it's not really much action to it. It's just basically Spawn walking around trying to make sense of what happened to him and how his body got the way it is now. And he's pretty much walking around asking himself a whole lot of questions, and he's thinking about the family he left behind. But I like the way the story was told, and I think Spawn was introduced very well in this landmark debut right here.
Alrighty.
Definitely 5 stars.
All right, so what are we thinking for next week?
Well, that's to be decided, but we'll think of something. We'll definitely be back here. That's one thing you could count on for sure.
But in the meantime, we should definitely...
Oh yeah, remember to hit like and subscribe. You'll be helping me. You'll be helping my fiance. You'll get to see our new episodes as soon as they get put up online. Benefits everybody.
And remember to hit the bell icon so it'll actually turn up in your feed because YouTube are fuckers.
Yeah, YouTube does do some stupid things from time to time.
Alrighty, we're going to go listen to some Mortification. So any final words?
All I got to say is I'll see you next week and enjoy the rest of your evening.